All right. Thanks everyone for joining. I am Krishna Reddy. Many of you already know me. And today I am the presenter. I'm going to talk about this topic, utilization of generative artificial intelligence in geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering. So, this is the presentation that I gave in 2023 at a conference, EGRWSE, International Conference on Environmental Geotechnology, Recycled Waste Materials, and Sustainable Engineering, on October 25th, 2023. As you all know, one of the famous generative models is ChatGPT that was released in September 2022, and that created a lot of buzz, right? So everybody was excited and everybody was concerned, so I kind of summarized a lot of stuff that happened within 1 year. So a lot of things were happening that time from the release of ChatGPT to my presentation time. So I kind of wanted to summarize my perspectives on this. And then basically I'm giving the same presentation here. And compared to what happened during that 1 year of release, the things that are happening are very significant. But in terms of the usage, also there are many changes. But it's not like a sudden changes that we saw right after the release of ChatGPT. So this was my keynote presentation, and this paper was published just recently. And I will put a copy of this paper in the chat box so that you can just download and you have access to it. So a lot of my stuff from here in this presentation are in this paper. So I'm going to talk about the generative AI applications in geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering, but it can be applied in any engineering actually, okay? But I'm going to take some examples of geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering because I work in these areas. So geotechnical engineering, many of you already know or work, extensively in this, investigating subsurface investigations, designing foundations, designing earthworks, investigating landmass problems, and so forth. All these are very essential for infrastructure development. On geoenvironmental side, we work on non-hazardous, hazardous waste management, characterization and mitigation of contaminated sites, enhancing the environmental sustainability and resiliency. And geoenvironmental engineering requires geotechnical engineering, environmental engineering, plus other disciplines. It's truly multidisciplinary, and it is essential for environmental protection and sustainability. And there are a lot of opportunities for research. So in geotechnical engineering and geoenvironmental engineering, we are always seeking for innovative solutions to solve the problems. This is in general true for any engineering field. We are always looking for innovative solutions. And the innovative solutions often come from good research projects. So that involves lab research and involves field research, and then mathematical modeling. Could it be analytical or numerical modeling? But these days, AI has become extremely important in this kind of efforts. Artificial intelligence are often, known generally as a data-driven modeling, and a lot of papers are coming up, and you will see that one quite extensively these days. So I know some of you already know about AI and a lot of things, but some of you may be very new. I just want to give a brief overview of it. Artificial intelligence is the theory and development of computer systems that can perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. And it involves natural language processing, maybe questioning, answering, content extraction, classification, machine translation, text generation, expert systems, giving some rules and querying, and vision, image recognition, machine vision, and speech. You can look at speech to text, text to speech, robotics, and you can have a machine learning. And a lot of people in our field, you see that people using machine learning. I will talk about this one a little bit more in detail. So the machine learning is a subset of AI, which focuses on development of algorithms and models that enable computers to learn from and make predictions or decisions based on data. And this does not require you to do programming. And so if you look at AI, ML is the subset of AI. And ML can be 3 types: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforced learning. And then subset of ML is the deep learning. So ML supervised learning is, in this, we have ML algorithms that are trained on labeled data set, and then you can use that to make future predictions. And it's commonly used for classification and more extensively used in engineering for regression analysis, regression applications. For example, this is one of our recent studies where we looked at machine learning models to predict the stabilization period of landfills based on different variables. So you can see, we kind of assessed, there are many different ML models, and we looked at which ML model can do better job in terms of the prediction. So other one is ML unsupervised learning. So here we don't have labeled data. So all the data is unlabeled. And then with this algorithm, you find the patterns, structures, or relationships. So without any explicit guidance. So deep learning is a subset of ML, and DL uses artificial neural networks. And the artificial neural networks look like this, as I'm showing in this sketch. These are inspired by the structure and function of the human brain, and it consists of layers of interconnected nodes, or called the neurons. And the AN allows the process more complex patterns than traditional ML models. And there's also reinforcement learning ML models. In this, computer agent learns continuously in an interactive environment by trial and error. And if it is doing correctly, then you get rewarding, and then you keep adapting, with those scenarios. So there are many applications of AI, ML, DL in geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering. So if you look into publications, you will find a lot of papers where these AI techniques are applied in geotechnical engineering. So these I just showing you some examples of it. You can see for landslide susceptibility, slope stability, piles, earth dams, effective stress distribution, unsaturated soil application, liquefaction analysis, and all those things. So you can find a lot of publications on that. And you can also find applications of AI in geoenvironmental engineering also. I'm just giving you some examples here, okay? This is not all, inclusive, but you can see how the leachate infiltrates into groundwater, or leach generation, landfill stabilization. This is one of our projects. And then applying AI for contaminated site remediation, that is also one of our projects. And predicting the tensile failure stress for anchored geomembrane liners, that's also one of our projects. So you can see, many other studies are done using the AI, many more. So if you could do the literature search, you can find all these things. So here are our recent publications. In this paper, where we looked at AI applications for site remediation purposes, in this one, I try to describe different ML methods and DL methods. I think this would be a great paper to read if you don't have any background on different ML and DL things. So I will put this paper in the chat box, so you can download it and read it right away. And this is one of our recent papers that's published in Computer Science Geotechnics, where we were trying to look at different ML models. And this is a paper published in Geosynthetic International, where we were looking at the geomembranes. And here is one paper where we looked at different AI techniques for site remediation. So you can find all these things on my website, but I will try to put these two papers in the chat box so that you have ready access to them. So those are all AI, but the focus of this topic is not AI, it's a generative AI. And people call it a GenAI, like I wrote it here, or GAI. But the question is, what is this, right? So the GenAI models use various AI technologies like machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, and image processing. The main important thing is it creates a new data, new content, generates new content across various domains. It could be a text, it could be image, it could be audio, it could be video, it could be a code, or some other things. So the main important thing is using these AI technologies to generate new content. So you have all these different AI technologies, and then this Gen AI is trying to, let's say, use text and generating the audio, text to video, text to image, image to text, or text to text. That's what you see in these Gen AI models. For example, ChatGPT is one thing. You ask a question and it generates the answer. It's a text to text, right? So it's like that. These are all kind of the models, Gen AI models that can generate one form to the other form. There are a lot of courses being offered now in universities. I saw MIT is offering one, Purdue University is offering one, and you can see many universities offering on developing this Gen AI or generative models. And so you can learn a lot of these things, more related to computer science, uh, the basis for developing these Gen AI models. So Gen AI models could include these generative adversarial networks, variational auto encoders, transformers are the main things that really are useful in the models that we use like ChatGPT. And here is the Pixel RNN, Pixel CNN. This is for images, and Wave GAN, WaveNet is for audio stuff. So there are many more models, and these are like where computer science background is important. Now, GenAI is becoming fascination these days because it has a lot of these amazing capabilities. It can generate the text, it can generate the image, it can generate the music, it can synthesize the videos, create the videos, and so forth. So it's amazing things that we were not able to do it before. Those can be done now. Now, it's not one or two Gen AI models. There's so many models. Everybody is developing these models, right? So if you look into, in terms of published models, I just listed a few of them here, but many more models are being developed by different people for different purposes. There are text, LLMs, large language models, and there are for images, the videos, chatbot, and voice. All those things are there. So it's a mind-boggling in terms of how many Gen AI models are there in the literature. And large language models are the ones which are receiving a lot of attention. And in these things, how they developed over the period of time. What is the current state? The transformers is like introduced in that self-attention, and that allows the models to weigh word importance dynamically, improving the context awareness. And so this is kind of a revolutionary development that happened. Now you see large-scale models like GPT uses billions of parameters to generate highly natural, context-aware text. So large language models are the backbone of Gen AI. These Gen AI models are trained on large data from across the internet that are capable of understanding and generating human language. The popular large language models, you all familiar with ChatGPT, right? So the screen appears like this. Ask anything. You ask any question and you get a response. And that's not the only one. Gemini is another large language model. Again, ask Gemini any question, just like ChatGPT, it gives you the answer. Copilot is another tool, right? Another Gen AI model. And then you have this Cloudy. Then you have this Grok. Then you have this Meta AI. Then you have this recently, it has got a lot of attention, it's the DeepSeek. There's so many, I'm just listed just a few of them, but you can find any of these things. They are trying to do kind of a similar thing, right? Just ask a question, the text, and then it gives you the generated text. So everyone is talking about Gen AI. Of course, now, not only talking, but people are using it. And it is now, not only for general use, but it's being used for many other applications. Some argue that Gen AI has the potential to ignite a creative revolution where the boundaries of human imagination are pushed further than ever before. I kind of copied this sentence just to show how potential this Gen AI has. Okay, so it has all, but what is that we can do with this in geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering? That is our field. So just to look at the landscape of what's going on in use of this Gen AI in geotechnical and geoenvironmental engineering. When I was preparing my presentation in October 2023, we did a small survey, and we had participation of faculty, students, industry professionals, government agencies, and so forth. And then I wanted to see, what is happening recently. So you may have took this quick poll, And we got responses from diverse groups, students and researchers, faculty, and industry, just to look at, what is going on. I mean, you know what you are doing, but what is that other people are doing? So first question was, have you worked with AI before, right? So I'm kind of showing you what the responses were before and in October 23 and just last month, 2025. So in general, AI use, S is 37.8%, but now you see 54.1. This AI includes everything, right? I mean that ML, DL, those kind of things. But then out of AI, what about specifically to GenAI? So are you aware of GenAI? So in October 2023, remember it was only less than a year, but it's still 88.1% people were aware of GenAI. And now, of course, 98.2%. I don't know who this one is that is not aware of GenAI, but you can see it's tremendous increase in the awareness of GenAI tools. Then the question is, okay, which GenAI tools you are using, right? October 2023, that was just a year after ChatGPT was launched. And you can see ChatGPT was the most common GenAI tool that was used. And then immediately within 1 year, there were other competing tools like Google Bard, Microsoft Bing, and so forth. And people were trying to use them, but mostly people were using ChatGPT. What about now? So just recently, we see like 90.8% of the people know GenAI, which is only like about less than 9% doesn't know that. That was kind of strange too, but I don't know who they are. But still, you look at this one. ChatGPT is like is the major or most commonly used tool, right? And then you see the other tools being used. This kind of gives you an idea, what tools that people are using it. So since ChatGPT is the most commonly used GenAI tool or GenAI model, so let's just briefly see what it is. I mean, you're using it, but you don't know what is going behind it, right? So this is basically ChatGPT looking at GPT 3.5 model. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, okay? So this is basically a deep learning model, ANN model. And you can see how many parameters that this model has, 175 billion parameters. And then you can have these layers in this one, and it has a 96 layers. So you could have a minimum 1 layer. And as you increase the number of layers, of course, you're going to have a large model. So here it's 96 models, 175 billion parameters you can look at here. So in typical engineering scenarios, we just have a few of them, maybe 10, but you look at in this kind of models, I have 175 billion parameters. So this was developed by OpenAI in San Francisco, California, USA, and it was released on September 2022. And there was amazing public response. Immediately, people started subscribing and using it. And the way you can use it is so easy, right? And then later, they have been developing different models. Now ChatGPT 4.0 is there. And there are other ChatGPT models, 4.0 mini, O1, O1 mini, O3 mini. They're all like a different versions of ChatGPT, and this became very popular because it's free, and easy access and very easy to use and very quick. And you have an app, you can use it in your app too. So it's so user friendly to use it. So people started using, even just general public started using it. And then I want to mention not everything is free. Some of the basic models are free, but these higher end models, they require you to subscribe with a monthly fee. Now they are working on ChatGPT Plus or ChatGPT 4.5, and this is available for beta testing, and it is expected to be released, and it has more parameters and increased input and output. So that is coming up in the near future. So in these models, there are regular models, regular LLM models. They provide you plain answer. And there are reasoning models that include intermediate steps that reveal how the thought process was to get the final result, right? So for example, reasoning models are OpenAI O series and DeepSeek R1 and R2. So just an example here. So if you ask, okay, if the train is moving 60 miles per hour and travels for 3 hours, how far does it go, right? The standard model gives you, okay, travels 180 miles. That's the plain response. So these are regular LLM models. But reasoning models, they tell you how they arrived at 180 miles. So it gives you the intermediate reasons, distance, you see this explanation here. So that explanation is the additional step. So kind of you can look at it if the answer, is based on valid reason or not. Of course, so these are the advantages, it shows you kind of a confidence, what is the reason, and it involves the multiple steps, complex decision-making tasks, and better generalization to novel problems. So this is good, but on the other hand, these models with reasoning, you're adding this additional stuff, so it's going to be, takes time and computationally expensive, and sometimes, the task may not be right, so maybe overthinking. So there are some issues with reasoning models. So people talk about this, why one is more advantageous than other in GenAI models, right? So you just talk about ChatGPT, and then when DeepSeek came, oh, everybody got excited about it. Why are the people getting excited about these different things, right? So you really need to look at, these things, parameters, how many parameters that they have, right? And then context window is like how much volume of the text they can process at a time, right? These are given in number of tokens. I will explain that one in a minute. So the more, the better it is. And multimodal is basically, can it handle giving input of text or image, or, these different things? And does it have a reasoning or not? So you can see these different things. So it varies from model to model. So in terms of how much, how many models, how many parameters it has, how much text or input that it can handle, and what kind of features that they have. So that will impact quite a bit in terms of the computational time that is involved, right? So everybody's talking about which is very quick, which is very cheap, for you it's cheap, but like a company that is running these models, they incur the cost, right? So a cost for 1 million tokens, let's say 750,000 words. So for these different models that you see here, so this is the cost that they incur for processing and including everything, So you see the cost could change quite a bit, So here some of them cost less, some of them cost very high, and it all depends upon how much there's input cost, output cost, and how much maximum token is, how much text it can handle at a time, and what is the speed, and what is the quality of the responses or output that you're getting. So the point that I'm telling you is, you are often using ChatGPT, you don't care about all these things, but behind the scene, the developers are, and you have these different models, and the developers are always trying to do some innovative things to reduce the cost of computations, and improve the speed, and handle more information, and also ensure the quality. So that's what is going on. I would really be surprised if any of you attending this webinar don't know how to use ChatGPT, but this is the demo video I created when I was giving my keynote presentation. Remember, I told you like this was just a year after the ChatGPT came. So a lot of people didn't know, yeah, I want to use ChatGPT, but where, how, So I kind of created this video. I said, okay, it is so easy. I wanted to show this. So a small video is there. So I go to ChatGPT. Open ChatGPT, you type that one, it's here, and then go into this, and then log in. If you don't have a login, you can sign up and then log in, and then you continue, and then you get this screen, and then you could have a different models displays there, which model you want to use, and you type what you want to ask. I said, what are the primary focus areas on current research related to the utilization of recycled waste materials in geoenvironmental engineering? That's kind of related to some of the attendees that are here. So it gives you right away in the seconds, gives you all the information. Where can you use it? But the information is a little bit dated because whatever the data that this model was valid. So you can choose the different models, and then some of the models can allow you to even you can input upload the figure photo, and then you can ask what is it, what the material is in this picture. You can just ask. It's amazing, it gave me, it identified this as a red mud, which is true, right? And then I said, what are the research focus areas related to utilization of the red mud in the context of geoenvironmental engineering, right? So it gives me all this information. I mean, it's amazing. You know, a lot of information is very, to start with, if you don't have any idea what are the uses of this Redmond, it's giving you something to think about. I mean, I want to mention that all this that you have here is not necessarily correct, but hey, from from blank in your head to you have something to think about it. So that's the video that I showed before, but now everybody knows. Now, this LLM's development has become very important and very friendly because the reason behind it is the rationale or the approach that they take is very amazing, very fascinating. So what they do is this called tokens. They have tokens, have IDs. So each word in text, you can look at it, each word has a token number, token ID. So for example, my is like a 3666, favorite is 4004, color is 3124, ease is 31. So it's like red is 2266 and period is 13. So each word that you can encounter in English language has a token. So and basically, when you have a token is basically a number, right? And if you have a number, then it's easy to program. It's very hard to program anything with the text, right? So now you have a numbers, and with the numbers, and looking at you train the model. Okay, I have my favorite color, and basically the model decides the order in which these words have to come. I mean, words as it has seen in its training, right? So I love, it could be a lot of different things, pizza. So this 2 plus 2 is equal. So, I mean, so the model, what it does is it lays these tokens in the order that it has seen commonly in its training. So what is it trained on? The entire internet, a lot of sources. So, and when it does that, and they become really sensible, complete sentences, and most of the times it is meaningful information for us. So so there are 500 billion tokens, in terms of to cover all the languages and everything else. So it's a lot. 500 billion tokens means 500 billion words and those punctuations. So in the models that we have, right, we can handle only a certain amount of text. You cannot like put like a long text and or it cannot give you the long output, right? So that is the limitation. So tokens means that many words, right? So ChatGPT can handle so many tokens, and ChatGPT 4, you can see you can handle more text, 128,000 tokens. So the models have. Remember previously I showed you, what is the model different models capability. So this is how many tokens it can handle at a given time. So how many words it can handle at any given time. So you cannot like type a really long, or you cannot expect it to be very long answer when the model is limited to certain restricted length. Now you should also know that this ChatGPT is supervised and reinforced. So, unsupervised means, you ask anything, it give you something, right? So this is supervised reinforced because, it won't give you information about some sensitive content, any matters related to violence, adultery, or hateful, personal, those kind of things if you ask, and, because it's supervised, so those considered unsafe, and it goes back and tells you that, it cannot give you that information, which is nice. And the prompt that you ask, that makes a lot of difference. How you ask the question or that has a huge difference on the result. And you have this LLM, so ChatGPT, you have it, but like you have a specialized scenario or you have a research questions, so you can actually add your own data and then with the LLMs, and then you can create your own ChatGPT that is applicable to your project. And that can be done, but now there are a lot of plugins that can do a lot of different things with the ChatGPT. So these are like add-ons, right? So I told you, like with your research, you can add your own add-on, or these are the add-ons or called plugins that have been developed by different people. You can combine with the ChatGPT and look at different stuff. So for writing, these are all different plugins. There are many more, but just showing you a few of them that you can use in conjunction with ChatGPT. So productivity. So here are a lot of plugins. And research and analysis, here are a lot of plugins, the Scholar AI or Scholar GPTs and so on and so forth. And education, right? So here are all the plugins. TutorMe is connected to Khan Academy. People know that one very well. So again, you're connecting this one to the other things. So programming, if you're doing the programming, these are the plugins that can be useful for, for example, if you're using Python or lifestyles, you can use these plugins. And for example, you can connect it to Expedia, and then you can plan your vacation. It can plan for your vacation. So those are all a lot of plugins you can see. I mean, it's just every day new plugins are coming, a lot of things are happening. They're all like sounds really, really good and exciting, but there are a lot of risks, misuse, dangers of GenAI. What are these? Cheating, misuse. I know some students are in the attendees. Students may be completely relying on ChatGPT for homeworks, term papers, which will affect their learning process. And researchers, I know a lot of people are there doing research in this attendance. So researchers may be completely rely on ChatGPT to prepare draft papers or for literature review, which affect the quality of the research. And you have a problem of hallucinations. So this is a factual inaccuracies, false or illogical information that isn't based on real data or events, but is presented as a fact. So that's what you really have to be extremely careful about, and the way it comes out is like as if it is true, but it's not true. Outdated information. So what is the data that it is trained on, and what data that it doesn't have? That of course is reflected in the answers that you get. And again, it could be biased information. You may have some particular type of information, and then the answers will be only oriented towards that. So it's if you have biased input or biased data to train the model, and then you basically expect a biased output. So you have to be careful about that. Copyright violation. So it is taken, all kinds of information from online, whatever is there, and some of that could be copyrighted, and by using this one, you are not honoring the copyright laws. And ethical concerns. There's a lot of misinformation, privacy, and responsible use of AI technology, how it is being affecting. So those are really major concerns. So use of GenAI in schools. In the beginning, they said no, ChatGPT. But then later on, they realized that, they cannot really control the students. So they started allowing. So this is the one scenario in New York. Even in Chicago, they said no to ChatGPT in schools. But now, the ChatGPT or GenAI tools are, allowed now. And even in universities, in the beginning, there was like a lot of opposition to use these GenAI tools, ChatGPT. But then, we have a lot of universities came up with the policies on how to use GenAI. For example, my university, University of Illinois, Chicago, we have GenAI use principles. So accountability, inclusiveness, reliability, and safety, fairness, transparency, and privacy and security. So these are all spelled out nicely. And then UIC also has the guidance for students, right? And so they want these guidances, use them for beneficial purpose with caution, right? So there are all kinds of learn to think critically, and don't just rely on the output of GenAI. So all this guidance for students is there. For graduate students who are writing their PhD thesis, the guidance is also there. Obviously the research has to be their own new, innovative, creative research. But if they are using AI tools to assist in any way, that needs to be declared and informed. There's a guidance for instructors also, in teaching. What do you do with that, right? So just you need to set all these rules and regulations on how, to what extent this GenAI guidance can be, GenAI tools can be used in a class. So that needs to be laid out. And there are strategies to reduce the GenAI misuse. So I'm showing you my university things, but all the other universities have their own things, but in a similar way. So what about other organizations that we often deal with? ASTM, GenAI use policy, they say that they do not use GenAI in developing any of their standards. It's prohibited. And ASTM also prohibits use of their standards for entering them into any AI tools like ChatGPT. So if they see that, if you are the one who is maybe entering the ASTM standard into one of these ChatGPTs, you could be liable. National Science Foundation that funds a lot of research money, research projects in US, they have their policy too. So NSF reviewers who are reviewing the proposals are prohibited from uploading any content from proposals, review information and related records to non-approved generative AI tools. And the proposers are encouraged to indicate in the project description to extent to which, if any, generative AI technology was used and how it was used to develop their proposal. So you have to be very, very careful in using GenAI when you're dealing with research proposals to NSF or reviewing the proposals to NSF. So all the journals, as you upload your paper, you will see this note, right? Do you use generative AI to write this manuscript? If you are using it, the need for declaration of this one. So most of the journals that I know have some policy on this. So I know we're running out of time, but I want to show you how GenAI is being used in geoenvironmental engineering, in teaching, research, and practice. I just want to give you some quick examples of how people are using. So I'm going to use geoenvironmental engineering as an example, but you can do the same thing in any field that you're working on. So let's say potential uses of GenAI. And GenAI, I'm going to use it, but mostly, as you saw, ChatGPT is the one that I'm mentioning. So if you want to use ChatGPT for teaching, what are the things that you can do? So you can create a new course syllabus. You can create lecture presentations. You can create quizzes, exams, and homeworks. You can find ideas for term paper topics to assign for students. So let's see, how do you do this? Create new syllabus. Just ask the question. I am introducing a new course on geoenvironmental engineering for civil engineering undergraduates as an elective in my university. Please give me a syllabus outline. So that's the prompt that you give into ChatGPT. And then it gives you this response. It gives you the course title, course description, course objectives, and it gives you the topics to cover weekly wise. Week 1, 2, hey, talk about this topic. Week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and assessment methods, midterm, assignments, class participation, final exam. Hey, and then textbook. Only thing that I'm upset about this one is my textbook is not included in this one, but so you get all these things. So, use this as like a basis, and then you modify it. It makes it easy. So you can create the lecture presentations. Okay, I want to give a lecture on landfill engineering tomorrow in my class. I need 5 slides. So I'm teaching a course on landfill engineering. Okay, give me 5 slides that covers the basics of landfill engineering. Here is the first slide. Here is the second slide. Here is the third slide. Here is the fourth slide. Here is the fifth slide. It looks good. I mean, and you take this and you modify where you want it, right? But it has given you the 5 slides that you want. And I saw the content, it's not perfect, but you can tweak it based on the knowledge that you have or based on the other resources that you have. Create quizzes, okay? I'm teaching this environmental remediation course, and I covered various groundwater remediation methods. I want to create a quiz. Give me 10 questions that can be answered in 15 minutes. That's my prompt. Okay, here is the quiz. Question 1, question 2, multiple choices, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you also have answers, make sure, so these are, you don't give this one to students, but you give the quiz, and then, and I want to warn you, make sure that, these answers make sense too. So, and the questions make sense too. So don't just, print it and give it. Sometimes there could be mistakes in there. And then you can use it for homeworks. So I was teaching this 425 course number, environmental remediation engineering. I have a homework. So I assigned the homework like this. What are the most common types of geoenvironmental problems? I said, read chapter 1 of the textbook and write your answer. Then I said, ask this same question to ChatGPT and copy and paste the answer in your solutions. And then compare both answers A and B and discuss the extent of relevance of ChatGPT. So basically, I'm being proactive. I mean, maybe they would have used ChatGPT and put as their answer. But I'm saying, okay, read the textbook, put your answer, and use the ChatGPT, get the answer, and then compare those 2 answers, right? And same thing in other questions. So I have these descriptive questions in a homework, and then I ask them, and what are the common geoenvironmental engineering problems, right? The first question. So they read the textbook and then wrote it, and then this give you, all the information. So all the topics that I was covering in the textbook, they are there, but it gives you a lot of other general topics that may not be exactly geoenvironmental engineering problems. So you have to be a little bit, it's a too broad answer. And then what are the most common contaminants found at contaminated sites? Same thing, you can get all the response, and then comparing with the textbook solution, it's there, but some of them are not included in that. So you have to be careful. And then I have a homework that has the questions, right? Numerical problems. So I gave you, the question to solve these problems, okay? Read the textbook and solve the problem. And then I said, use the ChatGPT and try to answer the question. So, and then I said, discuss, you are solving based on the textbook versus, the ChatGPT. So here is the, question about calculating the double layer thickness, diffuse double layer thickness. This is the question in my geoenvironmental engineering book. If you look at it, in one of the chapters, at the end of the chapter, this is the book. So they did it, according to my textbook, and then they did it, and then they were trying to use with ChatGPT, and here is the answers that they gave. What students thought was ChatGPT used a different approach than what I thought, and sometimes ChatGPT did not complete the solution all the way, and most cases it made erroneous calculations. So it made mistakes. So it was not correct. So you got to be careful. Then find ideas for term papers. So I'm teaching this course. Okay, I want to assign some term papers related to contaminated soil and groundwater remediation. So can you suggest some topics that I can assign to the students? Response, here are the number of topics. Okay, you can assign these as topics. You can look at this and then see if you like any of them or tweak it and assign them. So it's good. Now, in teaching, when students are using these AI tools, you want to check if they are using or not. It's very hard. There are AI detectors, like you can see, if any AI tools are used to generate, so students submit term paper, how do I know if they didn't use the ChatGPT to create it, right? So these are like, that like I authenticate, those kind of models, the programs that use for plagiarism checking. So same thing, there are AI checkers, a lot of them, but there are many of them. But the problem is often they produce false positives and false negatives. So you can create something with ChatGPT and then feed into this one, and it kind of tells you, it's human created. That's not true. So the best thing is when you're teaching the classes, code of conduct, you really need to specify what are the expectations on using the GenAI tools. So this is one example from UIC. They're asked to try using the ChatGPT, but they develop the course conduct and then guidance to avoid misuse. So you need to clearly say that one in the syllabus. And whenever you're assigning something, maybe you go to the ChatGPT first and see what kind of response it gives, and then modify the assignments based on that, and encourage collaborative projects rather than individual assignments, so that ChatGPT becomes irrelevant. So there are multiple ways that you can avoid. You can have them required to give the presentations like that. So, that way you can avoid using this. So let's go quickly to research. So we talked about teaching research. There are a lot of papers that are coming out that deal with GenAI in research. So you see this one, 2022, there's not many. 2023, 2024, and as of today in 2025, 352 papers, they deal with somehow this GenAI. So what can you use ChatGPT or GenAI tools in research? Identify potential research topics, outline and sources for the research topics, create preliminary drafts of research proposals, plans, literature review, editing the writing, research data analysis. So you can do all those things. So initial research ideas, especially graduate students and young faculty, if they want to enter into new topics, can say, hey, I want to do some new research on innovative materials in landfill liners. Okay, this is my prompt. Then it gives you the response. So look at that and then see if anything makes sense. Perform literature review, right? So you have publications, you want to read that one, you can ask questions, and it can summarize it, extract the key information, or aid in writing process. You can use some of these tools to enhance your writing and summarizing the research papers. And then you can use this one to codes. I think this is one of the most useful feature of these tools, is to develop, to generate the codes for data analysis using any programming language. For example, okay, I want to write this MATLAB code for actual waste management, municipal waste generation. Say I get a MATLAB code. And ask, I want to know, I don't want MATLAB code, but I want Python code. I can get the Python code. However, the code generator might not always work. and might contain errors, but then you just look at that and tweak it and perfect it. So what about practice, right? So industry, what are they doing it? Create project cover letters. These tools can create a very nice cover letters. Researching for relevant sources related to projects, getting ideas on scope of a project, report preparation, field data analysis, image analysis, and creating proprietary chatbots for knowledge transfer. So for example, if you data analysis and visualization, so we had this big database on landfill gas to energy projects, and then we wanted to see how the data is. You can see the data plots that are created by ChatGPT. So here is the one graph, here is another graph, looking at all the different information and including the statistics. So please generate the box. You can ask the questions. You link that database and keep asking questions. So here is the question. Please generate a box plot comparing the energy capacity of publicly owned landfills versus private owners. It creates these graphs very quickly. I mean, if you have to create these plots using some of the standard softwares, it takes time. So here you got it. Here is the comparative bar chart for average energy capacity per landfill for top 5 contributing states. Here is the graph. So you can go into the database and extract the data and plot it in a matter of seconds. So that's very good. What about predictive modeling? So I'm looking at the contaminant transport through the clay liner. I'm asking it to estimate, concentrations through the liner after 10 years of construction. And, this is the problem in my textbook. There's a good solution. And then, if you try to use this model, this ChatGPT, just typing the question, you will not get an answer. It's a really weird answer. But you have to tweak it. You have to ask the questions. No, that doesn't make sense. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to kind of, if you redirect it proper way, you can get the answer that is exactly matches with the hand calculated according to the textbook that shows. Okay. So yeah, you have to be careful. And if I image analysis, so just I took a picture. Let's say you have a picture of a landfill or somewhere, you can take a picture and say, hey, what is in this picture? So this picture, I uploaded it, and it gave me very good description about what it can see. This is all municipal solid waste, so it's identifying all the different components, which is so good. And then let's say you have a complicated flow chart. How the hell this goes around? How do you explain this one, right? You can just feed this flow chart and then say, hey, explain this flow chart to me. And then it keeps explaining this one. This is pretty good. And of course, you have to be, everything that you get in response, you have to be, suspicious that it could be wrong. So, but, in a way that, if you want to use ChatGPT in a meaningful way, you should know something about what you're doing. You cannot totally rely on this. Proprietary chatbots for knowledge transfer, you have a lot of knowledge and then you want people to know, or in the companies. So in geotech field, some companies are coming up with chatbots with the knowledge that they had on their projects. So this is the RS Insight by Rock Science. You can go there and ask question, and then it will answer related to what they are doing. Itasca, that as a Flag and other popular programs, they also have this chatbot, and you can go there and type the question, and it can give you so you see these chatbots for everything on websites now, but in terms of our field, very specific to geotechnical and geoenvironmental. So limitations of using GenAI in practice, currently limited, but expected to increase. Complex geotechnical and geoenvironmental domains with spatial variability, limited data, physical constraints, so that makes it hard. And other thing is confidential client data cannot be uploaded. And if you upload it, then that's in the public domain almost. So a lot of companies don't want their information to be uploaded. Currently, companies are using to perform repetitive or laborious tasks, such as using spreadsheets to create plots easily. So that's kind of the simple stuff that they're doing. So this in the recent poll, I said, okay, what are the students using this one for? So most of them, they said finding definitions, explanations. So that's the first one. And academic help, doing some assignments. That's the second one. Third one is report preparation. You can see that, simplifying the complex topics for a better understanding. So that's how the recent, like last month, when I sent out, I asked the students. So it seems like they are using for these things. Researchers, the biggest one you see, this one is they are using it for writing, debugging, correcting the codes, which is kind of very nice. And you can see other things, structuring and outlining the presentations or the papers, and then getting ideas for research. You can see various things. Faculty, what are they using for creating the course materials? See, that seems like at the top use. And then they have getting ideas for research and literature review and simplifying the complex topics. So you can see, what are the top usages by faculty. And practitioners, these are tied. You could quick look up on codes and regulations and preparing the reports. They're using it, getting ideas on solving the actual problems. So literature review and simplifying the complex topics. So that gives you the sense of landscape, what's going on now, what are the users. And so based on the survey this time and versus 2 years ago, so the benefits are use of GenAI, like tools like ChatGPT saves time and increases the productivity. Easy way to get a summary of any topic of interest, gives you a broader idea of things, makes a repetitive task easier, can help improving writing skills, and can quickly look up values for typical ranges of soil parameters, but I caution that one very much. Another opportunity to learn and grow. So the limitations, I asked the students, what are the limitations of using the GenAI? The students said like accuracy of the information generated is the big problem and may negatively impact learning abilities of the students. I'm glad students are thinking that, very good about it. And researchers, they are also concerned about negatively impacting the creativity and accuracy of the information comes there. And they're worried about this AI replacing the jobs in the future. Faculty, again, they are worried about accuracy of the information. You see the accuracy of the information is becoming consistently in every user scenarios, right? And then may negatively impact. So these two you see, concerns. And then practitioners, again, accuracy of the information may negatively impact the individual creative thinking. So I asked the question, okay, what are the faculty doing and for research and teaching? What is your policy on usage of GenAI tools by students in your courses? So as you see here, so they highly encourage, and then they care or less. And then they have strongly discouraged. So very few percentage of the faculty is discouraging the use of the GenAI tools, but majority of them, they're encouraging or they don't care. And then do you encourage the students to use the GenAI tools in their research, like if you're advising PhD students and other things? So highly encouraged. And then they don't care. There's some people, strongly discouraged. So you can get a sense of this. Okay, you can use it, but cautiously. And if you use or not, that really doesn't matter. So some people don't have that. So in practice, strictly not allowed. Companies don't allow use of GenAI, and allowed with the limitations on data sharing. And then allowed without any limitation is 30% of this. So industry is very, very, obviously, right? It's they don't want to take the risk. So the future opportunities and risks, right? So there are a lot of opportunities for using this in teaching, but you really need to be worried about this risk of hallucinations, outdated, copyrighted information, biased information. Gen AI like ChatGPT can be a good learning tool partner for students, but excessive reliance on them takes away their learning process and creative thinking ability. GenAI is good for research, for doing like literature review, code writing, reviewing, editing drafts easier, and also brainstorming new ideas. But hey, be careful, right? You may be biased in training data, inaccurate information, data safety. Although current use is limited, GenAI can quickly become a valuable tool in engineering practice, but privacy concerns about data privacy, lack of judgment, and you cannot really trust GenAI, ChatGPT to really, do something in real practice. And yeah. So one last thing that I want to mention, I work on sustainability and resiliency. Many of you know that. But what is the implications of Gen AI and sustainability? This is the part that a lot of people don't see it. I mean, you know how to use ChatGPT, but what goes behind it is very, very fascinating. So Gen AI models use a lot of computational power. They need a lot of supercomputers to process large amount of data. And they need, for that, elaborate infrastructure. So there are huge data centers that are constructed and operated to run your Gen AI models. If you type something in ChatGPT, hey, a supercomputer is working somewhere, to give you the answer. So here are these are the data centers, how they look inside, all these things. Outside, because they are processing so much, they generate so much heat, they need to have a cooling systems, right? So you need to have a cooling systems, and they require high energy, and also high amount of water. So these data centers are requiring a lot of energy and water. So these here are the systems. So just to give you an example, how much water is needed, let's say you type 100-word email, right? Say 100-word email. and depends upon where that data center is located. You need to look at the conditions of the climate conditions and the type of data center that they have. To process that 100-word, generate 100-word email, it requires in Washington, let's say that data center is in Washington state, it needs about 1,500 milliliters of water. For example, this water bottle is like 500 mils. So you need 3 water bottles are used up for 100-word email that you want it to be created. I'm in Illinois, so it's almost 1 bottle of water is consumed for this. We don't realize that one, right? And in terms of energy, 100-word email that you want to generate by ChatGPT, the energy that is required is equivalent to lighting these 14 LED bulbs for 1 hour. So if once a weekly, if you would send that 100-word email, that I don't know who does that, but we do probably many every day. But weekly once, if you do it for a year, and that the energy that is required for these data centers is this 9.3 houses for an hour. It can power that many houses, 9.9 houses for 1 hour. But if you once a week for every year, by 1 out of 10 working Americans, if you consider that one, and the entire Washington D.C., all the households could be powered for 20 days. So just kind of gives you kind of context how much. You're talking about 100-word email, how much you're using it every day, right? So that much of water usage and that much of energy usage is coming. So obviously the sustainability is extremely important. Resiliency is, of course, is very important too. So those are the 2 topics. I'm very passionate about it, but the downside of these technologies is sustainability and resiliency. So just the closing. GenAI is rapidly evolving and revolutionizing the world. Use of GenAI in engineering is rapidly expanding. And of course, in geotechnical and geoenvironmental has huge potential as a tool or as a partner. And it's true for any other field that you're working on, but you must be aware of disadvantages, hallucinations, bias, being outdated, unethical. So GenAI must be used responsibly. And future of GenAI is amazing and exciting, but also very, very scary because of potential misuse or cheating. Additionally, as I told you, the data centers require high amount of energy, high water usage that really concerns from sustainability and resiliency point of view. Just in the closing, this picture I found online in 1986, math teachers in the USA protested against the use of calculators. The math teachers, they didn't want students to use calculators. That was a protest. I think in 2025, history is repeating itself, and many teachers are now resisting the use of AI and other digital tools. I don't know how future is going to hold. So as I mentioned, the presentation that I'm giving now is based on the presentation I gave in 2023. And this is the paper that summarizes, but some of the recent survey results and few additions that I made for this presentation. I want to thank you all. And here is my contact information. And feel free to send me email if you have questions, or you can connect me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, or go to my lab websites. You can find all kinds of information. So with that one, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend this webinar. Hopefully, it is informative to you. And I want to stop here and take any questions that you